My name is Kim Smith. I am a safety press officer for Penn DOT District 3, and my office is in Montoursville.
And District 3 encompasses what area?
Sure, we have 9 counties. So we have Tioga and Bradford, Lycoming and Sullivan, Union and Snyder, Northumberland, Columbia, and Montour counties.
Winter weather is closing in on us, and what are some things that us drivers can do before the first snowfall to be prepared for the first snowfall?
Sure. So, of course, we want you to avoid unnecessary travel if you can. So if you can stay home, stay home. It just gives us a better chance of clearing that road. If you get stuck in traffic, we're stuck in traffic too. So it makes it hard for our drivers to be able to get out there and clear those roads if there's a lot of traffic on the roadway. So we do ask that you stay home if you can. But we do understand that sometimes you do have to travel out on bad roads. So we want you to check 511 PA, which is a free app or a website you can go to. And on there you can see things like what the road conditions are, what the weather expected is, if there's any closures or lane restrictions because of any crashes. But also you can track our plows. So you can actually see where the state plows are in 2-minute increments. So if you know it takes about 2 hours for the plow truck to come by your property every time there's a winter storm, and it's been an hour and a half since they've been there, you know if I wait about another half an hour, they're going to be coming through. So it's just kind of an easy way to see what roads have been cleared. Because when the snow is falling, we can't keep the roads clear. The snow is falling, but we do our best to make them passable.
Okay. Is there anything I should take with me or put in my car for the winter season?
Sure. So really any time of the year, but especially during the winter, we want you to have an emergency kit in your car. It can be something as compact as what I have here. I'll just kind of show you some of the things that I have in there. So for winter weather, I do want to have something to keep me warm. So I have a hat and a pair of gloves. And then I also have a small blanket that I can use if needed. And then I have a little bit of kitty litter. You can use sand, you can use rock salt, just something to carry with you so that if you do need to get some traction for your tires, you can just kind of sprinkle it around and gain some traction there. Another little tip that you can use is your floor mats. If you are stuck in the snow and you can't get out, use your floor mat, wedge it underneath your tire to give you a little bit of traction. And once you get into a safe spot, then you can retrieve your floor mat. You want to have things like a bottle of water, some non-perishable food that you can use in case you're stuck for a long period of time. Most of us carry cell phones these days, but you want to make sure you have a charger. I keep a little pack of hand warmers in there because you never know. I also keep a flashlight and some extra batteries. You can't really run your car the entire time if you're stuck for a long period of time because you run out of gas. So you want to keep your car on about a couple of minutes every hour just to kind of keep the heat on. So you want to have a flashlight for those dark hours. I always carry a map with me everywhere I go. A little first aid kit, just some batteries, some gauze, and a little bit of ointment in case I need that. Medications. If you are on life-saving medications, you want to make sure that you carry a couple of extra with you. Us women, we tend to throw those in our purse, so we normally have them with us, but our men might not be thinking about that. So check with your pharmacist, though, to make sure that your medication can withstand the cold weather, the cold temperatures, to keep it in your car all the time, but it's good to have a couple extra in there. And then I travel with my pet, so you have to think about things that your family or you might need. So I keep some dog food and a little collapsible dish I can give my dog water or food if needed. If you have a baby or travel with young children, you want to make sure you have some things for them. Just think about what you might need in an emergency and see if you can keep a couple extra in your car.
So that's what we can do to get ready. What is Penn DOT how do they get ready for the winter season?
Our winter prep starts way earlier than the winter season. So we have assigned routes for our drivers. And of course, we focus on those primary roads. So in our area, it's going to be Interstate 180, Route 15, Route 220, those higher volume roads. They're our priority routes. And then we go from there based on the average daily traffic as far as ranking priority. But our drivers that have these assigned routes actually go out usually in October and do what we call a dry run. So they're out there looking for obstacles or things that they need to mark or be aware of. So when they're out plowing, they're aware that they're there. So maybe a tree or mailboxes, that sort of thing. They're becoming familiar with their routes. And then of course, we always make sure we got plenty of stock of salt and grit and gravel and brine. We make brine to treat the roads if the weather calls for that. So There's no magic bullet. You have to look at the weather forecast. How is it starting? Is it starting as rain? If it's starting as rain, it's going to wash the brine off the road. So we have to kind of look at each forecast individually and plan an attack on the roads that way. So we have all the maintenance guys and girls are preparing for that. They're making the brine. They're making sure they have plenty of stock, and we kind of keep that going all year long.
What does brine do for people that don't know?
So sure. So brine is a salt and water mixture that we spray on the road. So a lot of times the day before a storm, you might see some stripes of wetness on the roadway, and that's the brine. And what that does is it helps when the snow starts falling, it helps melt that snow right away. So the road's already pre-treated with the salt in a liquid form.
And if I encounter a plow when I'm out driving, how would you recommend I maneuver?
Sure. So we want to stay at least 6 car lengths back from a plow because they are releasing salt and grit and even brine sometimes. So you want to make sure that you're staying plenty back from them, but also because of their blind spots. They cannot see directly behind them. So if they have to brake suddenly and they don't realize that you're behind them, it could cause a crash. So the safest place for you to be is behind the plow. And we don't want you trying to pass a plow, especially when they are pushing snow, because the snow coming out over the plow blade can obstruct your view of where that plow blade ends. And we have a lot of minor crashes that way where people are trying to pass it, they haven't moved over enough to pass the plow, and they don't realize that. They think it's just snow falling over the plow.
You mentioned obstructing your view. We've all seen cars on the highway who either just make a little window where the driver could see out and don't clear any other windows, or they have 6 inches of snow on top of the car. Tell me why that's a concern.
Right. So causing a crash because of snow on your car or ice on your car that might fall off and cause another vehicle to crash or cause injury to a pedestrian or a bicyclist or something, that's going to get you some pretty steep fines in our state. But also for your own safety, you want to be able to see clearly out your entire car. So all of your windows should be ice and frost free. If you only clear a little spot, you're basically cutting off your peripheral vision. You can't see anywhere else. But also if you have snow on the hood of your car, ice on the hood of your car, that can actually blow up over top of your windshield and block your view. So it's really important, not only is it a law, but for best practice would be to clear all the snow and ice and frost off your car before you travel.
Okay. And how should I drive differently during winter weather than I would the rest of the year?
So normally we say following distance should be 3 to 4 seconds. So if you are following a vehicle and they pass, say, a speed limit sign, it should be 3 to 4 seconds before you pass that speed limit sign as well. It's kind of how you can track that. We want to double that in inclement weather. So not just snow, but mist, fog, rain, anything like that. You want to increase your following distance. You want to brake gradually. You don't want to slam on your brakes. And make sure you know what type of brakes you have. If you have anti-lock brake system, you need to know that and know how it functions. There's a great website that you can go to learn about your vehicle, all the different features that they have, and it's called mycardoeswhat.org. And on there you can learn the difference between, say, lane keep and lane assist. And so you can kind of look at your vehicle and what you have and learn how to properly use it on this website. But so besides increasing your following distance and making sure you understand how your brakes work, you want to decrease your speed. Our speed limits in Pennsylvania are set for ideal conditions. So when the weather is dry and you have sunlight that you can see, so any other time you do want to lower your speed limit, increase your following distance. Make sure that you're prepared with your car has proper tire treads, they're inflated properly, your brakes are working well, you've got plenty of wiper fluid, that type of thing. Make sure that your car is ready for that as well.
Do you have any advice if we encounter a snow squall or a whiteout? Like, what's the best way to handle
I mean,
that?
the first thing we tend to do is slam on our brakes because we can't see, right? But if cars are coming up behind you, that's super dangerous. So what you want to do is try to slow down gradually, especially if you're on a highway. You can try to slow down gradually until you can get off the exit or a safe spot to pull over. But definitely don't slam on your brakes. Just gradually lower your speed. Make sure your headlights are on, your full headlights. That way the back of your car is also illuminated for the cars coming up behind you. And then just gradually get off when you can and wait for that squall to pass. I personally have been on Interstate 80 when a snow squall has hit, and it was a scary time, but I knew to apply my brakes gradually and find a spot to pull over.
So it's the holiday season. Everybody's going to be celebrating. You pointed out to us that it's one of the times of the year where it's the highest incidence of crashes because of impaired driving. So tell me what we can do to cut down
Sure.
on the number of crashes.
Sure,
of that.
yeah, the holiday season, we see an increase in impaired driving crashes. There's more people on the roadway. We're out doing our errands, out shopping, meeting up with our friends that may be visiting in town, and we do see a large increase of impaired driving crashes. And I want to point out, when I say impaired, I'm not just talking about drunk driving. Impairment begins with anything that can impair you, so it can be prescription medication, it can be over-the-counter medications such as like Benadryl or NyQuil. Those things can impair you. And then also, of course, our illegal drugs. So when we say impaired driving, we're kind of encompassing all of that. But our holiday period runs from the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and then goes all through the New Year's Day. And in that time, last year in our state alone, we saw 1,111 impaired driving crashes and 387 drugged driving crashes. So that's a really high number, 1,500 crashes in that little short period of the holiday season. So that resulted in 85 fatalities and 848 suspected serious injuries. So that's a lot of injuries and fatalities for those crashes. They are completely preventable. Impaired driving crashes are completely preventable. So you want to have a plan before you go out, because once you start drinking, you're not making great decisions, right? So you want to have that plan. So before you go out, you know that you're going to be taking an Uber or calling a friend, or someone's going to be the designated driver. And if you decide to be that designated driver, you need to take that role seriously and not have any alcohol at all, because it does begin impairment does begin with the first drink. Some other things that we can do if we're hosting a party, we can make sure that we've got plenty of snacks and non-alcoholic drinks there. If you have guests that are drinking, make sure they do have a plan to get home safely. Maybe have somebody designated to drive people around and get them home, or offer them a place to stay.
Is there anything I didn't ask you or I didn't cover that you want people to know about either topic that we
Sure.
discussed?
Whenever I get asked this question, no matter what I'm talking about, I usually tie in seatbelts, right? Seatbelts are really important. They're our best defense in the event of a crash. So just wearing your seatbelt alone increases your chances of surviving a crash by 60%. And if you're ejected from the vehicle because you're not wearing your seatbelt, you're 25 times more likely to die. So make sure before you travel for the holiday season or any time of the year that everybody in the vehicle is buckled up no matter where they are sitting, and that children under the age of 8 by law must be in an approved child safety seat, so a booster seat, a car seat, an infant seat. But really the magic number to remember here is in height is 4'9". If your child is over the age of 8, so legally they can be out of a car seat, but they haven't reached the height of 4'9", keep them in a booster seat, because that seatbelt in the vehicle is made to fit people 4'9" and taller. So that'll help boost them up. They can see out of the car better, but also keeps that shoulder belt on their shoulder and the lap belt lower on their hip to make it safer for them in a crash.
All right. Well, I thank you for coming in and talking with us today.
Absolutely.
Have a good
Happy to
holiday
be here.
season.